In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 $3 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls? Start saving thousands in interest and fees and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
Listen, folks, I'm here to tell you our political system is broken. The two-party system is dead. They have become one and the same.
Keep on doing what you do, Rick. You're my favorite host. Favorite host.
This is always the killer, the one that just destroys that never Trump argument. Hillary Clinton will fill the Supreme Court with liberals. She'll also appoint federal judges with a liberal bent to them.
I don't feel no ways tired. I come too far from where I started from. Don't let anybody tell you that it's corporations and businesses that create jobs.
Arrogant, sanctimonious, self-righteous, sabotaging Trump.
Everybody's got to be covered. This is an un-Republican thing for me to say, because a lot of times they say, no, the lower 25% they can't afford. I am going to take care of everybody. I don't care if it costs me votes or not. Everybody's going to be taken care of much better than they're taken care of now. The government's going to pay for it, but we're going to save so much money on the other side. ISIS is honoring President Obama. He is the founder of ISIS. He's the founder of ISIS. Written by a nice reporter. Now the poor guy, you got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember. He's going like, I don't remember. Maybe that's what I said.
What realized is that the Bill Kristols of the world, the never Trump people, they were just never serious. They never had any kind of ground game. They never had an actual candidate they could pick.
And in a surprising and disturbing move today, the Libertarian vice presidential candidate just agreed that rifles are weapons of mass destruction and people on the terror watch list should not be allowed to purchase guns. So in other words, the party of freedom is liberty for me but not for thee. Go figure.
Compromise where you can. Where you can't, don't. Even if everyone is telling you that something wrong is something right. Even if the whole world is telling you to move, it is your duty to plant yourself like a tree.
Alright folks, welcome to America Off the Rails. This is a very special edition of America Off the Rails. We typically do this. We didn't do it last year, but we did it the year before. We usually have an annual tradition where we take a break from politics. I guess it's kind of been semi-annual lately. And we talk The Walking Dead. So we're going to do that this morning, and I just want to take a second to remind you, if you have not seen the episode yet, turn off the show. I don't want to spoil it for you. You know where to find us on podcast. You can come back and listen later in the afternoon. We'll be on Red Nation Rising Radio. So you have a few hours. So if you want to keep listening, that's on you. But there are going to be spoilers here. I'm giving you guys plenty of time. This is airing on Wednesday. The premiere was Sunday. If you don't know what's going on by now, then you're probably not a Walking Dead fan anyway. So you're probably turning off the show anyway. You're like, where's my politics show? Why is Rick going crazy and talking The Walking Dead? Look, even I got to take a break from politics once in a while. And this election cycle has been harder than most. So that's why I've decided to resurrect an old idea that we didn't do last year, that we're probably going to start doing every year again for as long as the show's still around. Although, what are we in, season 7 now? I have to admit, there were some things that have disappointed me about this season. First of all, we went through the whole cliffhanger the last time, well, the cliffhanger before this most recent one, where everybody was like, oh my god, Glenn's dead, the show's never gonna be the same because Glenn's dead. And then it turns out Glenn wasn't dead. However, it appears the writers were giving us a very healthy dose of foreshadowing, because now Glenn is dead. He was beaten to a pulp, so much so that he started looking like the dude from Goonies. Anybody remember that guy, Sloth? You know, it is, no matter what, I'll find you. And falls over. Okay, so my son has sworn off the show now. He says he's never going to watch again, because I guess he was a big Glenn groupie and now Glenn's dead. Of course, the first guy to go was the redhead, and suddenly his name escapes me. I had it right before I went to say it, but anybody who knows the show knows what I'm talking about. Big burly guy, red-haired, was actually spent some of the episodes last season wearing a Union Soldier's Army outfit or Cavalry outfit, whatever you want to call it. And basically he was the first one to go. So we've been wondering all break who's going to be the one to go. Who's going to be the one to go? I figured, because everybody started talking about, there were all these little leaks about, is it going to be Daryl? Is it going to be Rick? Is it going to be Rick's son? Who is it that's going to go? So I was honestly surprised to see and honestly, I know some people are going to hate me for this, but I breathed a sigh of relief there for just a second when the big burly redhead, who I barely knew, was getting his head staved in, because I really didn't have that much of a vested interest in what happened to that guy. He's fairly new, hadn't been around for very long, and he wasn't one of the ones that I've watched from the beginning. So the dude, Negan, beat him to death with Lucille the Vampire Bat, as he likes to call her, and then basically I breathed a sigh of relief, and then I realized it wasn't over. Because Negan was being Negan, and Daryl couldn't handle it, and Daryl popped him in the face. Now, a lot of folks that I know are mad because Daryl popped him in the face. I gotta tell you, I'm actually surprised that Rick did not do anything with Negan. We're gonna get to that in a second, but I want to finish talking about this first. Because, of course, Daryl pops Negan in the face, and he told everybody up front, this one was just to get the point across to you. Anything like this happens again, and I'm going to have to take action. And then Daryl did it anyway, so then Glenn got beat to a pulp, dead, mush for brain, whatever you want to call it. And everybody was up in arms. Look, I liked Glenn. I really did. I'm sad that he's gone, but I think it serves to prove a point. And then as the episode went on, there were even more points that were made. But I have to tell you something. I'm going to back up. And I'm going to say that I think in a lot of ways we have started to see the wussification of Rick. Because there was a time that Rick wouldn't have taken that crap that he just went through. He wouldn't have. Maybe it's just because I mean, and I'm going to go back to politics for a second here. Maybe it's coloring my perception because I've spent most of the last 18 months fighting with everybody. And I've gotten to the point where I don't care anymore because I'm going to stand here and I'm going to tell you what I believe. And if you don't like it, you can either attack me or you can move on about your business. But if you attack me, then I'm going to own you. And it's becoming more and more prevalent that that's happening all throughout social media. And I'm fine with that. Look, we are entitled to disagree. So I don't know. Maybe the fact that I've been going through my own version of what I call the Walking Dead, which are both Trump and Hillary supporters. In my opinion, they both seem to lack something going on with their cortical functions to support either one of those folks. But I saw, and again, maybe it's my tactical training. I spent a lot of time with a badge, was private investigator, private security officer, ran a tactical team, spent some time in law enforcement, etc. All of that fun stuff. But I kept seeing all these times when Negan was taunting Rick, and Rick had a hatchet in his hand for some of this. And Negan kept getting within striking distance of that hatchet. Now, I don't know what the consequences would have been, and maybe, again, I'm not thinking rationally, but I'm just thinking at this point, if I can chop the head off the snake, so to speak, these other folks may not do very much. And there were at least 4 separate occasions that Rick was in striking distance of Negan with the hatchet, and he didn't do anything. I personally would have waited until there was a moment when he really wasn't paying attention, like one of the times that he was kind of leaning over. And let's say that I'm in the position, the Rick's in, and I'm on the ground, and I have the hatchet in my hand, and Negan leans over and starts yelling into his face. The first thing I would have done at that point, because what else have you got to lose? He's already beat one guy to death. You know he's about to beat another guy to death. He's talking trash about somebody that just punched him in the face. And he's over there, before any of this happens, right up in your face, telling you what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. And then again, with his son. Yeah, Rick's son almost lost his arm on this episode because Negan was kind of an Abraham moment. Negan had Rick's son laid out on the ground, had his arm outlined as to where he wanted him to hack it, and then wound up not making him do it. But again, there were at least 4 separate occasions where Negan was within striking distance while Rick had access to the hatchet. I would have dug it straight into his crotch. I'm not being grandiose at this point. I'm not trying to be macho. I'm just telling you, look, odds are, before this is all over, more of the people that are in his group are going to die. At that point, if it would have come down to sacrificing the group that was here to try to make sure that somebody like Negan didn't continue to terrorize everybody around him, I think I would have rolled the dice. I mean, I can't say that for sure because I'm watching a TV show and I'm looking at it from a tactical perspective going, well, I could have done this here, and I could have done that there, and I could have done this here. But he didn't do those things. And I guess why it stuck out for me is, a few short months ago, Rick had a lot of the same training that I'd gone through. And I know that in that type of situation, I would have been looking at a lot of different things from tactical perspectives. I mean, I've told you this before. I haven't had a gun on my side, at least not in a uniformed capacity, in nearly a decade at this point. But I still, when I'm in a restaurant, typically will not put my back to the door unless my wife begs and pleads for me to sit in a certain spot that forces me to do it. And I'm not comfortable the entire time because still, to this day, it's ingrained. It's training. There are certain things that you cannot turn off. So I know that in that type of a position, a character like Rick would have been assessing the situation tactically. And I saw at least 4 different occasions during different time frames of those scenes where he could have tactically ended Negan. Now, I don't know what would have happened next. I probably would have had to roll the dice. And that's one of the things that has me the most upset. But the craziest thing is watching and listening to all these people on Twitter and Facebook and everywhere else. They're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, everybody's dead, they're dying. Because I didn't actually get a chance to watch right away. I actually got a little bit of misinformation because somebody posted out on Facebook, well, Daryl's dead. And I'm like, really? Daryl's the one they killed? So I go look and I'm like, wait, the redhead's dead. So then I'm like, it wasn't Daryl. And I'm like, uh-oh. I finally figured out what they're talking about. But we talked enough about the opening of the show. Let's talk about some of the things that these folks do really, really well. Let's talk about the anticipation. This is one of the things that this show does better than any of the other shows on TV, in my opinion. They leave you with a cliffhanger that literally has you thinking about it the entire time that the show is not on. People are talking about it. They're building up their suspense about it. They're building up their expectations for it. And it's one of the things that they have really done well throughout this show, is the cliffhanger. It's been kind of a mainstay for them, and it usually happens at least twice, because we've gone to these goofy short seasons where it's like you get 5, 10, usually anywhere from 5 to 10 episodes. Then there's a break, then you get maybe 5 to 10 more. Then there's another break. Does anybody else miss when we had like TV season and then rerun season? Dude, my DVR gets a workout. I'm not even gonna lie. I mean, even with Dish, I can record like up to 8 shows at a time because we have the hopper with the Super Joey. So we have access to 5 different tuners, but one of those tuners can actually be split off to record up to 4 shows at a time. So through their Primetime Anytime thing. So we can actually record up to 8 shows at a time if Primetime Anytime is running, and I still have times when there's not enough tuners on my TV to record all the different things at all the different times when they come on, because as soon as one show goes on, off, another one comes on, then you gotta make sure that everything is lined out, and then there'll be like this big change up like there was with CBS that's no longer airing Supergirl. So I'm like 3 episodes behind on Supergirl because I keep forgetting to set it on my DVR. You know, and it's just, I don't know, it's just one of those things that kind of annoys me, is these whole short seasons, this, you know, little breaks. Then there's like the summer season now, there's the fall season now. I just miss when, you know, you got 22 to 25 episodes of something, then you got a 3-week break to recover and actually watch the stuff that you might have missed. You don't even really get to do that anymore. Well, unless you have Netflix. Netflix makes everything better, because then if you've missed anything, you can just watch it again later. So yes, I know I've just given free publicity out to both Dish Network and Netflix. They should really be paying me, but what can I say? Alright, so anyway, we're going to go ahead and take a really quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk some more about The Walking Dead, and maybe actually get a little bit into politics, because I realized that we've already gone through a lot of the stuff that I'd prepped. I figured it would take longer to talk about, but there's plenty of things going on in the news. So when we come back, we'll wrap up with The Walking Dead, then maybe move on to the political spectrum. You are listening to America Off the Rails right here on KLRradio.com. Also through iHeartRadio, Stitcher, SoundCloud, AM/FM Player, iTunes, and Red Nation Rising Radio, and coming soon to crntalk.com. Don't go away.
Stay tuned. Things are going to get real interesting. You're listening to the Spark Radio Network.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
All right, folks, welcome back, and we've been spending the first segment of the show talking Walking Dead, which we usually do. Actually, I just realized that this is a show we used to do on Finding Common Ground, so I realized why we've gone through the material a lot faster, because usually a couple times a year we'll actually take a break, talk our favorite shows, but since Bryce has taken over the left chair, he's pretty much all business, so we really don't talk much fun stuff, and every once in a while even I still have to take a break from politics, which is why I wanted to spend the first part of the show talking about The Walking Dead and the things that that have happened that maybe, and giving you my perspective on a few things. And again, one of the reasons why I continue to tune into the show is, first of all, it's really well done. The characters are really well fleshed out characters. It's why we get so sad when one of them is yanked away too soon, or in this case, two. Stupid writers. Couldn't have stopped with the redhead. You had to take Glenn. Oh wait, now I sound like the other fans that I'm seeing all over social media. But anyway, I digress. But I guess the thing that, and this is how we're going to transition away from it, the thing that stands out for me so far for this opening episode of The Walking Dead is it kind of feels like the no-win scenario that we're in politically this year. Because, I mean, look, at this point, Rick was damned if he did and damned if he didn't. I can sit here and Monday morning quarterback it all day long, but it doesn't mean my decisions were going to be any better or things were going to end up any better than they did. So at least at this point, he's down 2. Who knows? My idea could have gotten everybody killed. And it's one of the first things my son, we were actually talking Walking Dead at the dinner table. last night, and it was actually one of the things that he said when I told him my idea. He's like, you would have gotten everybody killed. Well, maybe I would have, but, I don't know. I grew up at a different time. Sometimes it's better to die fighting than to go out on your knees. And I kind of feel like that's where the group is headed right now. So, I don't know. Maybe my kamikaze kicked in. Maybe it's just me. But it's kind of the same thing, and to transition over to politics for the last part of the show, it kind of reminds me of, again, the same thing that we're going through now, because we see all of these people that, for whatever reason, they're either supporting Hillary because she's not Trump, or they're supporting Trump because she's not Hillary. And then we have the diehards on each side. The diehards are the crazy ones, if you ask me. I understand the folks that are pulling the lever for the other candidate because they're not that candidate. But what scares me is, at least on our side of the aisle, I've seen more and more people that have started with that, well, I'm holding my nose because he's the best option. And it turns into this full-blown, the more they hear about it, the more they watch it, the more they buy into it, the more it seems like they're slowly being indoctrinated. I have seen people that I consider friends on social media. I mean, we've never met in person, so I don't consider them like lifelong friends or anything, but people that I've actually had good times with, shared bad times with, talked them through bad situations, people that I've invested time in that are now completely on board the Trump train. And I'm not necessarily saying that that's right or wrong. I understand the hold your nose vote. What I don't understand is everybody that I've seen that started with a hold your nose vote is now full on board, bought a ticket, and he's the only way to stop Hillary. Well, there's an interesting story that's come out about that, and that is that apparently, according to sources, Breitbart, during the primary season, was actually working with leftist groups to make sure that Donald Trump's primary opponents did not survive the primary cycle. And yet I'm being called a shill for Hillary because I won't support either one of them. It's not because I'm voting for one or the other that I'm a shill, it's because I refuse to commit to either one. It's interesting that everybody that keeps telling me that I'm the one that's causing the problem because I won't vote for one of them. I won't choose one. But these are the same people that are telling me that they're supporting Donald Trump because he's going to break the system. How's he going to break the system when, in order to put him there, he has to use the very system that you want him to dismantle? Which I will admit is already skewed against Republican candidates. And that's something that even I didn't really start understanding until 2008, 2012, and now 2016. We start out at about a 3-point deficit in most places. So we have to try to pull votes from other places to be able to get this done. And that's why Reince Priebus and all of the other muckety-mucks in the Republican Party fell all over themselves when they realized that Donald Trump was going to announce for the GOP. They were beside themselves when they knew this was going to happen. Because they saw the ratings. They saw the paychecks. Look, folks, I'm not telling you that I have all the answers, but let me do a little connect the dots for you, and then you tell me how far off base I am. You can do it anytime you want by going to AOTR_host on Twitter. You can shoot me an email at rick@klnrradio.com. You can even, if you want to, because I've noticed a lot of people doing this lately, you can even at the station at KLNR Radio and tell them how terrible I am and how they should fire me because I'm a non-Trump supporter. That's been happening a lot lately, too. Which is another thing that I'm kind of tired of from all sides. Look, just because you disagree with somebody's point of view doesn't mean you should be going after their sponsors or trying to get them fired. I've seen people on all sides doing this lately, and I'm pretty well tired of it from all sides. Because look, everybody's entitled to an opinion. A lot of us that do talk radio, we don't pretend to be reporters. We don't pretend to be the guys that are always going to give you all of the facts first. We're going to take the facts as we see them, give you our perspective on them, and let you go on down the road. There are a lot of folks in talk radio right now that I'm disappointed with, but I don't want to see them be fired or destroyed. I just want them to realize that they started to do things for the wrong reasons. Folks, it's pretty simple. We have biases in media. We've known this for a while. everyone on the Trump camp is acting like that the media bias was unknown until 2010, 2012, now 2016. Simple fact of the matter is nothing could be further from the truth. We have known that mainstream media was tilted heavily left for quite some time. It's why networks like Fox News were started. And yet now we find ourselves with bias on the other side. Look, let me tell you what happened. And I'm not saying I don't understand it, because as somebody that's been trying to do this and build this now for nearly 7 years, and we're just now getting to the point where we're starting to have really good numbers, starting to pick up a few paying sponsors, starting to get to at least break-even point for a lot of things, I understand why some of these folks are doing what they're doing, but it doesn't make it right. The conservative media complex, or as another former host on here like to call them, Anger Inc., is now part of the problem. Whether they want you to realize it or not, they don't need or want a Republican in the White House, because they get better ratings when there's not one. Plain God's honest truth. Look, folks, I don't have a vested interest in this yet. I'm not making the hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting behind a microphone. I do this because I love it. I do this because I want to make a difference. I'm starting it for the same reasons that all of these other folks that have come before me have started it, but it's no different than, say, John McCain. Anybody remember John McCain when he first went to D.C.? They called him the Maverick. He was breaking things, taking names, and now he's part of the establishment because he's been there long enough that he's made inroads. Look, I fully understand that as my radio career continues, I may or may not start moving down that path. I promise you that if I get to the point where I start sounding like some of the people that are on the air today, that are making all of their money off of making you afraid, I promise you, you will not have to pull the pin from me, because I'm going to do it. That is a promise from me to you, because I didn't start this to get rich. I didn't start this to take over the world. I started it because I wanted to make a difference, and this was one of the ways that I knew how. If it makes me money now that it's starting to, great. If it continues to make good enough money where I can start doing radio and writing full time, great. But I'm not going to sell my soul to get to keep it. And that's what a lot of folks on the right have done, but they won't admit it to you because they need the ratings. Because let me tell you, now that I'm starting to get ratings, it's a scary thing when you look and one of your shows in a podcast form have been listened to on 2 or 3 different sites over 2,000 times per site. And then you look at the next one and you're like, well, why is this one only at 60 so far? What did I do different between these two? And then you come back and you look in a couple of days and you realize that it may have something to do with the fact that your shows are now on iTunes, because within a few days of them airing live, they're usually up to anywhere between 400 to 500 plays per podcast site. So there are some folks that are finding them on their favorite site. There's other folks that are finding us now that we're on iTunes, and it's helping to boost the numbers. So I mean, don't get it twisted. I understand why folks like Sean Hannity and some of the others are doing what they're doing. I've just made a conscious decision that I'm not going to be that guy. It's not going to be what I do. So I'm going to do my best to call it down the middle everywhere I can, every time I can, and that's why I'm taking it from both sides this year. But it also seems to be one of the reasons why I think we're honestly really starting to take off. We've had better numbers this month than we've had in the last 3 years. Not that we haven't had good numbers, but they are really starting to take off. And I think a lot of it is because all of these different stories are coming out, and I've seen some buyer's remorse from former Trump supporters who are looking around now going, what did we get ourselves into? Speaking of that, we're actually going to take an unscheduled break, partly because it kind of fits in with what I'm going to talk about when I come back, but also because I'm donating some sponsorship time on a lot of the networks for a new group that I just found, and I want to play their commercial. So we're going to take a really quick break. When we come back, the commercial is going to be kind of interesting because it's actually going to tie into what we're going to spend the rest of the show talking about, and that is why I'm so disappointed with a lot of our Christian leaders currently. You are listening to America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. We'll be right back after this quick commercial message.
Stay tuned. Things are going to get real interesting. You're listening to the Spark Radio Network.
As a Christian, I've been told this election that we should hold our noses and vote for the lesser of two evils. That our vote is justified because no man is perfect, and that we're simply electing a president, not a pastor. That we should vote for the party platform, not the candidate. That we should prevent Hillary from appointing the next Supreme Court justice no matter the cost. That Trump is the strategic choice. But should I set aside my conscience and cast my vote based out of a fear of Hillary rather than my obedience to God? Should I turn a blind eye to Trump's incredibly public promotion of fornication, adultery, hateful rhetoric, sodomy, abortion, and mockery of God? A man who says he has never needed to ask God's forgiveness for anything. What if we're thinking about this in all the wrong ways? Is it possible that as Christians, God has a higher calling on our lives than voting for either of two candidates who are so completely hostile to His commands? That God desires the trust of His people more than their strategies? That He desires our personal obedience more than He desires us to speculate about whoever the next Supreme Court justice may be? I believe in a God that is almighty. A God who very likely will allow either Trump or Hillary to become the next president. Yet even then, He will still remain in control. No matter who sits in the White House, no matter who rules in the courthouse, a higher king should rule in our hearts. If you too have decided that neither Trump nor Hillary represents your values, then please pay close attention. You still need to vote. And you need to vote for an actual ballot-qualified candidate in your state. At faithtrumpsphere.com, you can learn how we as Christians can send a message to America that enough is enough and that we will no longer accept candidates that are unacceptable. If enough of us vote for actual candidates besides Hillary or Trump, we can make a statistically significant impact in this election, and the major political parties will take note. But if you write in a candidate who's not actually running, then your vote will be disregarded and your voice won't be heard. And likewise, if you decide to protest and stay home and not vote, then you won't make a difference. You won't make a statistical impact. You won't be heard. That kind of misses the entire point. For a full list of candidates in your state, visit faithtrumpsphere.com. And if you know someone that would be encouraged by this message or hasn't decided who to vote for, then please share this video with them. We are not called to choose the lesser of two evils. We are called to holiness. God and God alone will save our country. And we should never cast a vote out of fear unless it's the fear of God. Remember that when the people of God vote like they belong to the kingdom of God, evil always loses.
Alright folks, so I hope you enjoyed that newest video. Of course, it's actually an audio commercial for us, of course, because we don't do video streaming yet. We're working on that, by the way. We actually probably will start doing a video streaming. Hopefully, if things go right, we'll be doing that by middle of 2017. But I found that last night, and we actually played it on Jen and Reg, and then I decided to kind of make it kind of a permanent donated spot through the election, I think, because I think there are so many people that are just not sure what they're going to do. And look, I'm not trying to judge anyone. I'm not telling you how to vote. I'm just telling you that at this point, I think in a lot of ways we're losing focus on what matters. At the end of the day, come November 9th, we're still going to be the same people. We're still going to face the same daily struggles. We're still going to have to wonder what comes next. think we're so worried about picking up the banner and worried about winning the war that we've lost sight of the fact that under either one of these candidates, really we lose. Look, folks, I'm not happy about it either. This was the first year in a long time that we had a strong enough field that we could have put almost anybody we chose in the White House. And we had to choose this guy. And look, I understand the perspective of a lot of Christians, but there's a reason why I wanted to play that, because it brings out one of the points that I talk about over and over and over again. Look, you cannot tell me this man is a Christian. People compare him to Saul before he became Paul, and a couple of the other conversions that happened while Jesus was alive. And they say, well, under these people, Saul would still be a tax collector. No, not at all. Because we could see a difference. We could see a change. We can see a transformation that was outlined in the Scripture. There has been no transformational moment for Trump. None. His behaviors haven't changed. He's still just as vulgar, just as outspoken, lies just as much as he has before. So you tell me how, even if he is a new person in Christ, like everybody says because he's recently rededicated, yada, 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 then you tell me why nothing has changed. His outward behaviors are the same. His mannerisms are the same. His talking points are the same. He bashes like a blunt instrument. And I'm scared, folks. It's one of the reasons why I'm pulling things in. I'm pulling things in to the point of making sure that I'm focused on influencing my circle. And Dave Brown, my former co-host from Finding Common Ground, when he finds out I've been saying this type of stuff, he's going to say that he was the first one that started talking this way. But it's the truth. When it comes down to it, the only control you honestly have is your sphere of influence and how people's lives are directly around you. That is what you can impact. A couple of times, every so often, every 4 years, we get to cast a ballot that may or may not change the direction of the country. But when you see that it's not going to go the way you think it's going to go or the way you think it should go, you need to refocus and you need to repurpose. Because at the end of the day, we're all still going to be here. No matter who is president on November 9th, we are still, or who is president-elect November 9th, let me reword that. We are still going to be here. We are still going to be going through our struggles. We're still going to have to figure out how to get things fixed in Congress. We're still going to have to figure out who's going to do what and how we're going to get it done. But we need to keep the focus more at home. Look, and I've said this before and I'm going to say it again for all of you that have been talking about all of these big things like defund Planned Parenthood. Look, our government, the way it's set up right now, can't do that because of the way Planned Parenthood is funded. The folks that are telling you that they're going to defund Planned Parenthood, they know they can't do it, but they say it because they know you're going to vote for them. Same thing happens on the other side. There are so many different issues that they use as talking points that when reality comes down to it, they really cannot be the ones to change it. And for all of you that keep talking about how the GOP's done nothing with their majority for the last few years, let's not forget we didn't give them a veto-proof majority. So at the end of the day, even if they try to push it, President Obama is likely to veto it. Now, if it were me, and I've said this before, and it's one of the few things that's different between Democrats and Republicans that I actually agree with. If I was someone in Congress as a Republican, and we were trying to get things done, I would put everything that I could on the president's desk. We want Planned Parenthood repealed. This is why we've passed it here. We want to know what your thoughts are. When he vetoes it, come back and say, well, he vetoed it because of this, so we couldn't do it this round, but at least we tried it. We're going to go back. We're going to work on it some more. We want Obamacare changed. Float that up. Make him veto it. All of these things that they got elected for, they could have at least made sure that they went up for votes. They didn't. It wouldn't have made that much difference. It would have been mainly ceremonial because, again, they really can't do anything about Planned Parenthood because of the way it's funded. If you don't believe me, look it up. It's just one of the crazy things. It's kind of like everything else that happens. Once the government gets involved in something, there's never an easy way to make it stop. And it's why, for the longest time, I've been telling everybody we need less government, not more. But yet now for this election cycle, we have two completely leftist candidates, two complete big government candidates who want to do nothing but spend us into oblivion. The only difference is who's going to get the money. Under Hillary Clinton, it'll be a lot more green energy. They're going to strangle the coal industry under Hillary Clinton. And there's all kinds of other little lobbyists that will get their money. But the same thing's going to happen if Trump gets into office. There'll be the only thing that honestly changes anymore in Washington is where the money goes, depending on who's got the purse strings. Nobody talks about that, but it's the truth. It really is. There's really not much difference in the parties anymore. The only thing that remains different is who gets the money when each party is in power. But that's why I go back to this particular commercial that we played on the last break of the show, because I'm trying to show people a different way. We can continue to fight, we can continue to argue, we can continue to have ourselves drawn into all these discussions that I actually am seeing play out on social media right now with a friend of mine who actually happens to be a last resort Trump supporter who's getting angry because other people are calling out Newt for saying the things that he's saying about Megyn Kelly that happened on Fox yesterday. And that's the thing, folks. We can either continue to divide, or we can remember that at the end of the day, we have our own sphere of influence, we have our own circle of friends that we can help make things better for. And if you don't like the way things are going in your government, you really need to start working on fixing things at home. If you don't like that prayer isn't in school, make sure prayer is part of your home. If you don't like the fact that they really don't talk about the government or Constitution, civics, or Bill of Rights in school anymore, why don't you teach it inside your home? When did we as conservatives become so reliant on the government? And when did it happen? That's not a criticism, that's an honest question. I want you to stop and think about that. For all of you that have been lobbying now for years that we put prayer back in schools, lobbying now for years that they teach civics classes in high school and junior high school. Look, that's all great. That's all well and good. But why does government have to be the one to solve the problem? Why aren't we doing those things in our home? If you want prayer back in school, the easiest way to make sure prayer gets back in school is to make sure your kid's prayed up before he goes to school or she goes to school. If you want your children to understand that we are a government of, by, and for the people, then teach them civics. Get a copy of the Constitution. Go through it with them. Make sure they understand it. Show them the Bill of Rights. Tell them how important it is. That they're not suggestions, they're rights. These are things that we can all do, and we do not. And I understand you're all busy. You're all tired. You're working 10, 12, 14, 16-hour days. Trust me, I get it. I do this for about 3 hours a day. I work 8 hours a day on a day job, and I'm running all kinds of stuff behind the scenes when I'm not doing either one of these things and I'm not in front of a microphone. So I understand that life is hectic. I understand that life is hard, but we were never promised life was going to be easy. We were promised that we were called to do great things if we bothered to listen. Too many of us do not listen. We leave it to the government to make things better. And as a conservative, that stops and starts with us. We can either continue to have the government tell us what we can do, when we can do it, how we can do it, or we can make sure that the things that we want our children to understand are taught first in our homes. If you want to know how to make a difference, if you want to know a way to change a generation, it's by making sure that your children understand the things that are important to you, because hopefully one day those things that are important to you will become important to them. It really is that simple. But we don't talk about that because we're too busy talking about the fear. Oh my God, Rick, she's going to destroy the country. She's going to put the worst possible judges ever in the Supreme Court. Maybe she will. Maybe she won't. But what's the guarantee that Trump's going to do anything better? But Rick, he says he's going to do better. He's put this list out of the justices that he says he's going to appoint. No, he actually didn't put out that list. There's a lot of folks that still float that, and they still talk about it. But the interesting thing about all that is he didn't even put that list together. That list was a peace offering from the GOP. to see if he would play ball. And he ran with it for about 5 minutes before he changed it because he realized what they were trying to do. Look, you can't put one over on me, folks. I almost boarded the Trump train. You know, I know people. One of my co-hosts was actually never Trump from the day that he announced. I wasn't. For about 2 to 3 months, I was really looking at him because I liked what he was saying. I liked the fact that he was brash. I liked the fact that he was telling people not what they wanted to hear, but at the time what I thought they needed to hear. There were things that he was doing that I liked. I, again, seriously, really almost considered buying a ticket for the Trump train. And then all of the little stories started coming out. The one first about the reporter, and then the kids that did the song for him, that his group was under the impression it was volunteer. They were under the impression they were getting paid. Now they're suing him because they didn't pay him. There's all the stories about the contractors that worked on his houses and the unskilled illegal immigrants that worked in his hotels and all of these other little things that, you know, well, we're doing this for America, but it's okay for me to use illegal immigrants because it saves me money. You know, and again, I'm really not trying to make anybody mad. I mean, I really honestly don't care anymore, but I really am not trying to make anybody mad, but I want you to understand something, because it goes back to one of the very things that I have been saying this entire time. We are talking about a man who says he's worth a very large sum of money. Very large sum of money. And yet, he keeps telling everybody how he's going to make things better by bringing jobs back to America. Well, I have a problem with that. I really do. Because if he was going to bring jobs back to America, especially when he's worth the kind of money that he's worth,
$8,737,540,000.
Why isn't he doing it in his own companies? If he's really worth
$8,737,540,000.
And of course, this is an old quote, so I'm sure if you ask him today, it's probably a lot more. But if he really has access to that kind of money, why was he not bringing jobs back to America in his own companies first? Because, Rick, he's a businessman and it wouldn't have made him money if he'd have done those type of things. No, that's not true. You know, you hear about all these little startups that have gone back to making things in America, and they realize that it's going to cost them more. So what they wind up doing is they get high-end materials and they charge more for the products, and people still go buy them because they're made in America. And because they're really good products. There's a factory that I guess was repurposed, I think it was somewhere in the Northeast, and they make socks, but they make high-end socks. So people are paying $10, $12, $14 for 2 pairs of socks. But they're really good socks, so they'll buy them. So don't tell me we can't still make things in America anymore because they're too expensive. We are one of the richest countries in the world. And yet we have zero manufacturing, or nearly zero manufacturing. All right, folks, well, believe it or not, we are about out of time. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you're listening to us, whether it's on KLNRradio.com, AMFM247.com, SHR Media, Red Nation Rising Radio, the Liberty Channel, coming soon to CRNradio.com. Other affiliates currently in the works. We'll announce with them as soon as we know what's going on and when we're going to be able to start. And, of course, all the different ways that you can listen on podcasts, whether it's iHeart, Stitcher, TuneIn, or not TuneIn yet, not for this show anyway, SoundCloud, iTunes, and there's so many folks I can't even keep up anymore. Blueberry's a new one, so if you have access to that, it's a pretty good one. But a lot of folks are actually digging the iTunes because you can actually go in, subscribe, it downloads automatically, you can listen to it whenever you want. Look, folks, I'm not one of those guys. I don't care whether you listen live, I don't care whether you listen Memorex. The fact that there are millions and millions of choices out there, and you choose to take time out of your day to listen to little old me, it makes me completely ecstatic. So I really don't care if you listen live or Memorex. I just love the fact that you listen. So we've got to make our way out of here to for whoever's coming up next, depending on where you're listening. And just want to take a moment to say I hope everybody has a great rest of your week. Of course, it is Hump Day. It's now almost officially in the books. So we're about almost halfway through at this point. So keep your chin up. Keep on going. We're almost out. I promise. But I will be back with you live tomorrow night on Jen and Rick, and then again, actually, I guess I'll be with you first Thursday morning. Then live we'll be here on Jen and Rick on Thursday night, and then of course we'll have the rounding out the week for America Off the Rails on Friday. Then we'll have Robinson and Wright on Friday night, and then of course Finding Common Ground. Want to give a big shout out to all the new listeners on Finding Common Ground. That show had absolutely amazing numbers this past weekend. Hoping that trend continues. If you haven't checked it out yet, I do encourage you to do so. Again, you can find everything that we have on iTunes, so you may just want to go subscribe to all of them. If you don't like it, you can always delete the subscription later. We're out, folks. Have a great night. Take care. God bless.
Screw you guys. I'm getting home. Later.
Game over, man. It's game over.